allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
If you remain standing, I think I saw Pastor Pat in the audience. He'll give our invocation.
Thank you. Let's pray. Lord, we're grateful for an opportunity to give thanks. Lord, it's not just a day, not even a week, but an attitude of our heart. We're grateful for those who lead us. We're grateful for those who serve us, for those who protect us. And now we ask that you would protect them, lead them, and bless them. Have your way today, we pray. Amen. Thank you.
Please be seated. Mr. Mizzi, can you call the roll, please?
Okay. Councilwoman Gavaracki.
Present.
Councilman Cisco.
Present.
Councilman DeGiulio.
Here.
Treasurer Armstrong.
Present.
And Mayor Pro Tem Keenan.
Present.
We have a quorum, sir.
Okay. I'd ask for a motion for corrections and approval of the agenda.
Make that motion.
Support.
Any questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye.
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 Any opposed? Nay. Okay. Approval of the minutes for November 20th, 2014. They're attached to
Motion.
your packet. Motion by Councilman DeGiulio. Second.
I'll support it, even though I wasn't here. I'll
Okay.
support it.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Bye-bye. Any opposed? Nay? Okay. At this time, if we could, we're going to come down, all of us, and we're going to have an awards presentation before we go back into the regular agenda.
Good evening. Thank you all for being here. This is another exciting moment in the history, I think, of the city of Allen Park. I just want to make mention of a couple of things. If you've watched the news or are somehow a fan of social media, you're aware that police officers have been the target of much criticism in recent months. It makes it all the more important that we stand and speak truth to ensure that it isn't gossip, innuendo, opinion, or agendas that will threaten to overwhelm our otherwise civilized society. Or let's bring it closer to home, or taint the otherwise superb reputation of Allen Park's Police Department. Tonight we have the opportunity to honor and thank 12 outstanding Allen Park police officers for their critical contributions in 3 separate matters. You know, I just want to say, I thought about this. When an officer answers a job description, and the description includes such things as the ability to be courteous but firm with the public, the ability to make sound decisions, the ability to analyze situations and to adopt an effective course of action, or the ability to react quickly and calmly under a variety of conditions. If you and I were answering that ad, we would picture ourselves safely ensconced behind a desk in a business office. These officers, day after day, are subjected to anything but the safety of a desk in a business office. Every day, their lives touch the unpredictability of people and circumstances, and they rise to the occasion, and they demonstrate superbly those qualities and skill sets that I just described. I want to congratulate Chief Wilkowitz for his outstanding leadership, and further congratulate the 12 individuals that will be receiving richly deserved awards this evening. Mayor Matekas is very regretful that he is unable to be here and be a part of this very important celebration and ceremony. But he prepared some remarks, and I'd like to read them to you. First of all, I'm sorry I'm unable to be with you tonight to honor these exemplary police officers and recognize their families. However, I am grateful that the city administrator was kind enough to deliver these remarks. These awards are based upon actions by an officer or unit that goes beyond the regular call of duty to serve citizens. A police officer's regular duties are varied and call for creativity, attention to detail, and carrying out the commands of their superiors to enforce the law fairly in the area then under their jurisdiction. What are these typical duties that most of us don't realize or just accept without any real thought? These duties include patrolling our streets and businesses, cite, reprimand, and arrest those who violate our laws, control crowds and traffic, investigate crimes and suspicious behavior, record keeping for all that they have to do, provide first aid when necessary, respond to calls for assistance or to investigate, and testify in court. All these duties are to be done with courtesy, civility, and promptness, while sometimes requiring prioritizing multiple requests that come at the same moment. They must refrain from reacting to rude treatment, being spat upon, or using any more force than is necessary, even when being physically attacked. It is for all these reasons we need highly trained, educated persons whose backgrounds show high moral standards and physical fitness. It is stressful at times, physically demanding, and always requiring careful attention to what is happening or what they are recording. Every day they come to work knowing they may be required to stand in harm's way, to give their life to save a citizen's life. These are the most remarkable people that we should all respect and I think admire. Tonight we recognize those officers whose work and conduct goes beyond normal, but is truly exemplary and outstanding. Also, we need to honor their families, who every day must worry if their loved one will remain safe and return home unharmed. As a resident and the city's mayor, I thank you all for all that you do and how professionally you do all the tasks assigned to you and those that you voluntarily undertake. At this time, I would like to introduce and turn the podium over to Mayor Pro Tem Keenan.
Well, I just want to say a few things too. Karen and the mayor, I think in their statements covered a lot of my thoughts, but I just want to speak to you as a person who grew up here in Allen Park and in a community where I was raised to really have a humble respect for our police department. our Allen Park Police Department for many, many years were revered in the community. A lot of you that have known me for years and have heard me speak here at council meetings have talked about the fact that when we had an officer in Drano, it was very hard to be able to get bus here in Allen Park because people don't want to do business in Allen Park because they were afraid of our police department. It was revered in a humble and a respectful reverence. That's changed a lot. A lot's changed in the last 20 or 30 years. Many of you probably don't know, I don't probably even the officers, but I actually tested to be an Allen Park police officer. I passed the test, but somebody passed higher than me for the one that they were looking for. I don't know what I would be feeling today if I was a police officer. Growing up here, my dad taught us when a police officer pulled you over, you put both hands on the steering wheel. You didn't move around in the car. When they came up, you said, yes, sir, yes, ma'am, no, ma'am, yes, whatever. That's not the case anymore. Anybody that turns on the news or sees any TV or anything, every decision a police officer makes today is second guessed. There's people out there with cameras on their cell phones taping everything they do. I don't know what it would be like to have a job where every decision that I made is second guessed and critiqued by people. And it's got to be just a really hard thing to do. So I have a great respect for our police department. Tonight we're accommodating 12 officers, but I would contend that even though these are well-deserved commendations, that every police officer in the city of Allen Park deserves our respect, and I would hope that when you see them, you thank them. These folks come to work every day. When I took the test to become an Allen Park police officer, they were good jobs, and they're still good jobs, but the pay, the benefits, everything was there to make it appealing to be a police officer. The police officers we have today have had their pay, their benefits cut. They're coming to work paying a large amount of money towards their insurance, making a lot less than they used to make. Their pensions have been cut. But yet they come to work every day, respectful of the citizens and doing everything they can to keep Allen Park a good place to live, work, and play. And for that, every one of them deserves our respect and our accommodations. So. With that, I'm going to turn the podium over to Chief Jim Wilkowitz. And thank you, guys.
Good evening. I'd like to thank everyone for coming this evening, and also thank the mayor for his remarks and Mayor Pro Tem Keenan for his remarks, as well as the city administrator, Karen Folks, for her remarks. I promise that I will be courteous but firm with all of you. For those of you who don't know me, I've met a lot of you. I'm Jim Wilkowitz. I'm the police chief here in the city of Allen Park, and I've been the police chief or the interim police chief since 2011. I am very fortunate to work with a great group of men and women at the Allen Park Police Department who on a daily basis go out and perform their work with great dedication and professionalism. However, there are certain events that occur in police work that stand out and are truly worthy of recognition. Tonight, I would like to present departmental commendations to several officers who were involved in 3 such events. The types of commendations being issued here tonight are the following. A unit citation. A unit citation shall be issued for notable services rendered in the line of duty where several department members in a team effort perform a difficult task. A meritorious service citation. The citation for meritorious service shall be awarded for service rendered in the line of duty when a law enforcement officer, because of diligence and perseverance, performs difficult tasks under unusual circumstances. The act goes beyond what is normally expected and results in crime being prevented, life and property being protected, or criminals being apprehended. And the final commendation is the chief's commendation. The chief of police or his designee may award this citation to a department member who is deserving of special recognition for services rendered, exemplary behavior, and fidelity in active service to the department. At this time, I'd like to call forward, if they are present, the following officers to receive the unit citation. Sergeant Wayne Albright, Sergeant William Mehall, I just promoted him, Officer Kevin Gursky, Officer Adam Begley, and Officer Patrick Moore. I'm now going to read a short summation that I prepared regarding the circumstances surrounding the issuance of this citation. This occurred on June 22nd, 2014 at 12:19 in the morning. On June 22nd, 2014, Allen Park officers, these Allen Park officers, responded to the 4200 block of Wall Street on report of a man in front of his home firing a handgun. Upon arrival, the officers set up a perimeter. The person involved in firing the handgun had retreated back into their home, where his mother was also inside the home with them. The officers spoke to neighbors and ascertained the identity of the person involved and a telephone number for his home. Officer Moore recognized that this person had been involved in a prior incident with the Allen Park Police in which he was armed with a gun and had resisted arrest. Sergeant Wayne Albright was able to make telephone contact with this person in the home. He was initially very irate and agitated. After 45 minutes of negotiation, Sergeant Albright was able to calm him and convince him to come out and surrender. A check of the home after the surrender revealed a .38 caliber revolver, which is what he was originally using to fire shots in front of his home, and an AK-47 rifle with a 30-round magazine. It is due to the teamwork, professionalism, quick thinking, and tactics of the officers involved, along with Sergeant Albright's ability to negotiate with the person inside the home, which resulted in this incident being resolved in a peaceful manner. It is my honor and pleasure to present the unit citation to Sergeant Wayne Albright, Sergeant William Mehall, Officer Kevin Gursky, Officer Adam Begley, and Officer Patrick Moore. This unit citation shall be entered into this officer's personnel file and civil service records. Congratulations. Next, I would call forward the following officers to receive the unit citation and also the issuance of a meritorious service citation. Officer Michael Basile, Lieutenant James Soden, Officer Kevin Locklear, Officer Steve Segrest, Officer Jason Dobberton, and Officer Matthew Miller. These citations are issued in accordance with an incident that took place on July 3rd, 2014 in the 16,200 block of Belmont Street. The incident was an attempted murder and then later a fleeing and eluding. On July 3rd, 2014 at 2:43 a.m., Allen Park officers responded to the apartment complex at the 16,200 block of Belmont on a report of a woman who had just been stabbed. Upon arriving, the officers located the victim, a 30-year-old woman, in a neighbor's apartment. The victim was holding her work shirt to her chest and applying pressure to a stab wound on the right side. The woman stated that she had walked out to her vehicle and while standing at the trunk was ambushed by her ex-boyfriend who stabbed her in the chest. The woman stated that her ex-boyfriend also tried to order her to get into his car. She refused to get in but told him that she would talk to him in her apartment. As her ex-boyfriend led her toward the apartment, she began to scream for help. Neighbors heard her screams and came outside to assist. Upon seeing the neighbors, the ex-boyfriend fled from the area and drove off in a blue Chevy Cobalt. Now I remind you that this is at 2:43 a.m. The victim was transported to by the Allen Park Fire Department to the hospital for medical attention, and the Allen Park Police processed the crime scene and issued a BOL for the suspect, ex-boyfriend, a 29-year-old white male, 6 foot 7 inches tall, 200 pounds, and his blue Chevy Cobalt. 4 hours later, at 7 a.m. that morning, after completing his night shift, Officer Michael Basile was driving home on Allen Road when he saw a blue Chevy Cobalt crossing Allen Road on Belmont. Officer Basile recognized the driver as the suspect wanted for the attempted murder. Officer Basile began following the Cobalt as it drove through the residential streets east of Allen Road. At the same time, Officer Basile contacted the Allen Park Police Department on his cell phone and advised the on-duty shift. Officer Basile followed the Cobalt as it entered Southfield Road from Rosedale and updated the on-duty officers as the car drove on Southfield toward Allen Road. On-duty officers arrived in the area and attempted to pull over the Cobalt by activating their emergency lights and siren. The suspect immediately attempted to elude capture by running the red signal at Southfield Road and Allen Road and continued to I-94 where he went westbound. Officers continued pursuing the Cobalt west on I-94 at speeds up to 115 miles an hour, during which time the Cobalt drove in a reckless manner and also passed traffic using the shoulder of the road. This pursuit continued west on I-94 to Ypsilanti, where the driver of the Cobalt exited the highway at Huron Street. Officers continued to pursue the Cobalt as it drove through the business district in that area, trying to elude by driving through parking lots of businesses and motels. The Cobalt then returned to I-94 and entered the eastbound entrance. Traffic on the eastbound I-94 was heavier, and the Cobalt's driver again tried to use the shoulder of the road to pass. The driver lost control of the Cobalt and crashed into the concrete median that divides the highway. The force of the crash knocked the driver unconscious, and he was placed under arrest by Officer Segrest and Officer Jason Dobberton. It is due to the courage, teamwork, professionalism, and tactics of the officers involved, along with Officer Basile's alertness and dedication, that resulted in the capture of this suspect who was wanted for the attempted murder of his former girlfriend. It is my honor and pleasure to present Officer Michael Basile the Meritorious Service Award and the unit citation, and to the officers involved in the pursuit and arrest, Officer Steve Segrest, Officer Jason Dobberton, Officer Kevin Locklear, Officer Matthew Miller, and Lieutenant James Soden, a unit citation. These awards and citations shall be entered into the officers' personnel file and civil service records. Congratulations. And finally, I'd like to call forward Sergeant William Mehall and Detective Jeff Miller to receive the Chief's commendation. As Police Chief for the City of Allen Park, I'm proud to issue these two Chief's commendations to Sergeant Bill Mehall and Detective Jeff Miller. These awards are given in recognition for the outstanding investigative work they performed in July of 2012 that led to the arrest and ultimately the conviction of Roger Bowling for the 2012 murders of two Allen Park residents. Unfortunately, what began as two missing person reports filed by the families of the victims on July 18th and 19th, 2012, rapidly progressed into a homicide investigation when the bodies of the victims were found in the waters of the Detroit River. The work of these detectives in uncovering the crime scene, collection of evidence, interviewing of witnesses, and coordination with numerous other agencies led to homicide and other charges being issued against Roger Bowling. After 2 years, in the summer of 2014, the trial of Roger Bowling began. After over 5 weeks of testimony, evidence, presentation, and jury deliberation, the jury rendered a verdict of guilty on all counts, including 2 counts of first-degree murder. On October 1st, 2014, the defendant was sentenced to life in prison without parole. It is my honor and pleasure to present the Chief's commendation to Sergeant William Mehall and Detective Jeff Miller. The Allen Park Police Department hopes that because of the efforts of these 2 detectives, that the families of the victims can find some sense of justice and closure. These Chief's commendations shall be entered into the officers' personnel files and civil service records. Congratulations.
Thank you.
In closing, I'd like to thank everyone for being here and ask that all the officers that are being recognized tonight and their families who are here in attendance, please stand and be recognized with a round of applause. Thank you again for being here.
At this time, what I'd like to do, certainly you're welcome to stay for the regular council meeting, but I'd like to take a 5-minute break. For those of you that do not want to stay, you're welcome to leave, and we'll reconvene the city council meeting in 5 minutes. Thanks.
Do I get here? Huh? Kind of cool.
What's been going on today?
Not much. How about you? Did you have some sub sandwich today?
No, it was pretty good. Honey brown today, except for
Except for what?
it nearly started me today.
You already talked to him or what? Let him get away with it?
Yeah. Yeah, he was leaving today.
Do what?
He's usually cranky now. He's just getting crankier and crankier every single day.
No kidding. I can talk to him.
I I know, but then he'll just yell at you. Probably see it swear word.
He swore?
Yeah.
I didn't know.
F word.
He did? Anybody hear him? Just you? You only heard what she say?
Said nothing.
Nothing at all? Cute.
Oh, yeah, your phone.
Pinch your little cheeks.
Anthony,
No, both of our guys. Sharing your little cheeks.
you want to pinch his cheeks?
No, I'm saying that's what you want to do.
Yeah, you're a handsome kid. You are very handsome. Thank you. And I love you very much. You know that. I know you do. I know. Whenever you want to go back, I'll walk you back. Want to stay up here for the rest of the meeting?
Can you get them there now? That's all that matters, because I never use my computer anymore. I just use my phone. What phone did you get there, sir? Did you get the notebook?
So what's your name?
That's a big one.
Oh boy.
School tomorrow, you got a long weekend.
Hey, could they take roll call again? Tell Mr. Keenan your name.
That's all that could
What's
take.
your name? Councilman Hayes.
My brother got
Can you take roll call again?
I think we
He said he's
should.
Councilman Hayes.
I think we should. Let's find
I
out.
noticed a tear in your eye when you saw
I can't
him.
keep up with it.
I noticed a tear in your eye.
Oh,
So I wanted to get a replacement. Come on.
right, there you go. There you go.
Yeah.
Oh, I know. I had actually thought about doing something, and I was thinking about Jim Kelly, Dale Colbert, and those guys. Boy, they told you to do something, you did. You got great. Mr. Kelly was terrible. Oh, yeah.
Well, we ready to go? Oh, Angela. Angela's right there.
Hey, Karen. When we were kids, AllenPark.
No, but this is still so dingy.
It is. They need to be all right like that. These are probably pretty old, antiquated ones. Yeah,
Some of those have probably been in there for 30 years.
I don't know if you're him.
you're probably
Touched
about
since the
right.
day they were put in.
Probably right.
Okay, it looks like we're all here, so we'll go ahead and call the meeting back to order. And we will move on to organizational business. A, City Administrator Operation Updates.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Just a couple of things. This is the time of year where our assessing department has several activities. And in talking with our assessing department, the thought was to share that with you And so with your permission, let me talk just a little bit about the activities, first of all, that take place during November and December through the assessment office. They inspect commercial properties for the purpose of updating the property records, verifying that all information is up to date, for the purpose of reviewing building permits for new improvements and/or loss of structures and additional improvements to the property, and also to value the property changes for assessment purposes. They canvass all businesses physically located in the city of Allen Park. They mail personal property statements to all businesses, which become due by February 20th. They mail personal property exemption form 5076 in December, and that becomes due on February 10th. It must be a commercial or industrial property. The true cash value must be less than $80,000. And then there is further detail that can be found on the back side of that particular form. Also, the December Board of Review meets in December, the early part of December, to take action on clerical errors and mutual mistakes of fact. They also take action on the principal residence exemption corrections, the poverty application request, but only in the current year. And then same thing with the veteran exemption applications. Their activities in January will include the real property values that are set by the assessor. Determining the assessment value is accomplished by inspecting any new construction or losses to the property, and also analyzing the market activity through verification of property sales. This is actually an ongoing function since property assessments are adjusted annually to reflect current market conditions. So also then in February, the assessor prepares the assessment roll, and they print the assessment roll, and then they mail the assessment value notices to taxpayers generally the third week in February. So when we get to March, I'll provide you with a little bit of more information so you get a sense of what they do then during that next quarter. The other thing I want to bring to everyone's attention, I think there have been some questions that have come to City Hall and various individuals, so wanted to put this information out there. The Department of Public Works began their tree trimming this week. They started on Monday. The plan is to follow the trash pickup routes. Weather permitting, then DPS will be back in the Monday trash pickup area, starting where they left off next Monday. So in other words, they follow the trash pickup route, and then they would continue to do that. For instance, in that particular area, they come back each Monday because they're following the trash route until the trees are all trimmed that are on their list. So each day of the week, DPS will be in the area of wherever the trash pickup is in Allen Park. And the other part of that is it's extremely helpful because all of the vehicles are off the road at that time, and it does make it easier. Another update is in anticipation of moving City Hall, certain first steps have been taken. We had put some RFPs out, as we had talked about probably about a month ago, and they are for certain needs assessment. And so we have, or I should say beginning next week, a company called Expect Tech Technology Service will begin conducting an IT needs assessment. So we have a better idea of what we need in the way of IT, equipment, installation, all of that stuff before we actually make the move. They have worked with other municipalities, such as in Rochester and also Fenton Township. Also, beginning next week, there is a company called the Gateway Group, and they are going to be conducting the voice over IP, the telecom telephone needs assessment for our city hall. And this Gateway Group's client list, they come highly recommended with a client list that includes Ford Motor Company, Detroit Public Schools, as well as the city of Fort Wayne in Indiana. So those are those updates. Two other comments. Some of you may be coming in to the parking lot today noticed that we had a flagpole down. Some of you may have seen what took place. Yesterday, all of us struggled against the incredibly high winds, and one of our flagpoles in the front went over. So that has been removed, but we have ensured the fact that the Old Glory is still flying in front of City Hall. So I wanted to make sure that you understood that, as well as I just wanted to put out my congratulations and sincere gratitude for just an outstanding job for the parade that took place last Friday. Well done to everyone who participated to deliver such an incredible, high-quality parade. It's my understanding that we came close to about 2,000 people in attendance. This is only anecdotal information, but from what I understand, that may be a new record. That's all I have. Thank you.
I have a question. Do you need a motion or support for this to be sent on?
Tonight and going forward with the reports that I do provide to you, it will be very beneficial if you make a motion to accept and place on file these reports.
Okay.
Okay.
I'd
I'll
like to make
entertain a
that
motion.
motion. Yes, please.
Gavricki. Mr. Cisco seconds. Any discussion? All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed, nay? Okay, at this point, we'll move on to citizens' comments.
My name is Marvin Susky, 15894 O'Connor, resident of Allen Park. I lived in Allen Park a long time, and it was a good deal. So good, I got 3 of my boys buying homes. I got a grandson buying a home. But what's happening now, I think we're getting shortchanged. I mean, what's going? I sent out an email to as many people at City Hall as I can, and I got one response. And my question is, I mean, why? You know, but if you didn't get it or you didn't read it, I asked News Herald to put it in the paper. I don't know when it'll be in the paper. But my concern is who's running the city? I mean, what I see is that EM left us with a lot of stuff, a lot of problems, and a city administrator. When she first came in, we had a city administrator. For some reason, he quit. Then another reason, he comes back for a couple weeks. Then he quits. Then the mayor says he looked for people, 12, 14 people, nobody fit or wanted to come. And we got Ellen Parker to take the job at an interim. Then all of a sudden, our present city administrator shows up at a much higher salary than what we were paying. And what my question is, was she working somewhere to get her lured to come to the city, or was she working at all? And you know, did anybody check her resume? Was it scrutinized? You know, and all that stuff. Is she an employee of the city? And that means, you know, they got to, you know, get a background check and drug test and all that. And my question is she in charge of the city, or are elected officials running the city? or is she part of that E-course invasion, when Mrs., EM came? And another thing is, I hear a lot of stuff about, I want to get something done at the park, and I always hear no money or wait for a grant or something like that. And, but I hear a lot of money being spent. I went to that Envision meeting, and I heard it costs a lot of money. What happened? I mean, nothing come out of it. You guys had a retreat. There was some other thing going on with money spent, I heard, and then there's been catering services spent outside. So, it's our money. There should be something going on. So, I mean, that was my question. Is,
Well, let me.
Well, no.
Go ahead.
I mean, I'm not here to pick on.
You're asking questions. Let me know when you want me to answer.
Anyone, but usually I come to these meetings and it's just entertainment. But I appreciate what you're doing now. You're telling us what's going on, and then you do drive a Ford Focus, and that's my thing too. So I mean that's all I got to say is who's running the city and where do I go? All this money is being spent outside the city, and nothing's going on. And I want a couple trees planted and some basketball nets put up over there at Real Park, and I can't. I had a meeting with Mrs. Folks there. It took me 2.5 weeks to get it for 20 minutes, and I didn't get nothing out of it. I mean, all I got was a lot of talking. I had a meeting with her in June. I know she probably don't remember it because I couldn't even step in the office door. But, Mrs. The EM took me there. That's all I got to say.
Well, I'm assuming that you asked questions because you want some answers, so I'll try to answer a few of what you said. So, I
don't know if you got the email, the question.
I got the email. I heard your questions. I'm going to give you some answers, all right?
Okay.
So, the current city administrator, Ms. Folks, was brought in by the emergency manager. But you talked about salary. So, I'm just going to give you some facts and what the thought process was that was shared to me with the emergency manager when she brought in Ms. Folks. We had very high bills for our city attorneys. Our city attorneys were going through every document that was created either by the council or the mayor or the city administrator, would always have to be vetted by the attorney. So Mrs. Parker's thought is that Ms. Folks is an attorney. So part of bringing her on and at the elevated salary, our previous city administrators, for the most part, I know at least we had one temporary that was an attorney. But the idea was that she would be able to do a lot of the attorney tasks as in conjunction with her administrative role, and therefore bringing down the city attorney fees. So that, I can't speak a lot to what Ms. Parker's thought process was, but that was one of the items she shared with me. So when you're looking at a person that's a city administrator and you're looking at somebody that's a city administrator and a lawyer, anybody that's ever hired a lawyer knows that those fees are a little bit higher. But if in the same case you can lower the fees down for the attorneys because she doesn't have to vet everything through the attorneys, it's kind of a wash. So that goes to what you were asking about with her salary, in my opinion. The other thing is Ms. Folks is in charge of the day-to-day operations of the city, as is every other city administrator that we've ever had. This mayor and council is a weak mayor and council system in the city of Allen Park. We're not a strong mayor like our sister city here, Taylor, where they have a strong mayor. We have a weak mayor and council system. The city administrator's always been in charge. Now certainly, and I understand what you're saying, and I have some issues with it too, some of Ms. Parker's orders did give the current city administrator some more power than we've ever had in the past, where we have to vet things through her in order to be able to get them on the agenda and what have you. But make no mistake, she is in charge of the day-to-day operation of the city.
Yeah, okay. I've been about 10 years I've been trying to get something done over there, and I always get stopped at that office.
Well, I would suggest that
and
you talk with
I know, I finally
Pat.
got to a meeting,
Yeah, Pat.
and there wasn't enough people there to hold a forum. There's supposed to be 9 people there, and everything stopped there.
Well, Mark, I would suggest that you get a hold of Pat.
Pat who?
Hawkins, who is our Parks and Recreation Director, and he's the one that should be able to help you out with the basketball things. He's the guy to talk to.
No, that-
But your time is up. I'm going to let Karen speak to the visioning committee.
Okay, my time.
Yeah, I'm going to let her speak to the visioning committee, and then we'll move on.
one other thing that you brought up, and I take this opportunity to talk just a little bit more about it, and that is there was an advisory committee that was appointed by the emergency manager, and one of the outstanding accomplishments was to take all of the information from that March 1st visioning event and then an April 28th a committee meeting, if you will, and provide some organizational structure to what we heard from the community. And they have delivered a very comprehensive strategic plan for the community. It is found on our website and has been there for now several months. The mayor and council had an opportunity and looked at it, considered it the very end of July, and then also took action to recommend that it be adopted. And in moving forward, a good share of what you hear from me when I share with you various activities that are taking place in the departments. There are many components of those reports that dovetail extremely well with the goals that have been put in place under that community-wide strategic plan. We also have some outstanding organizations that have taken a leadership role, and that includes the DDA. It includes the library. You have the parks and...
Excuse me, Mr. Susky.
Is this citizens' comments or for me to give my answers?
You asked the question, she's answering you. Please sit down or you're out of order.
That isn't what that's for.
Okay.
This isn't what this is for. This is, I made my comment and I'm getting a...
You asked questions and she's answering the question. I told you you're out of order. Please let her finish.
So there are a number of organizations that have taken a leadership role, and with those organizations, they have already identified what we might call low-hanging fruit, and they have activities that they are already engaged in that are actually not just compliant with, but they reflect the goals that we heard from the community, that the community would like to see activity on. And so as we move forward, particularly into the new year, from time to time, you're going to get some feedback from various organizations as to what activities are going on and how that meshes with the goals of that community-wide strategic plan. I will also make mention of one other thing. They spent an awful lot of time and energy in trying to bring a cohesion and organizational structure to everything that was heard from the community. And their role has been concluded, but at the December 9th regular council meeting, we will have an opportunity to applaud their fine work. That's all I have. Thank you.
Anybody else? Okay. Any other citizens?
You know I'll be up here. Good evening, Mayor, Council. Al Wojcinski, Vine Avenue. Last week, we had a special meeting to sign a garbage hauling contract that was issued 2 years ago. Why did it take 2 years to find out we hadn't signed that agreement? Okay, are there any other unsigned contracts out there? But most of all, congratulations to our fine police department. They do a darn good job. And through the chair to, are we hiring any more police officers? Are we hiring any more police officers?
That is not in the 2-year budget, but we are looking at how to marry some of those goals into a longer term project, if you will, or budget.
I guess to answer your question too, I believe that the current budget calls for 38, and we're not there right yet.
We're at what, 27?
So we may hire, but it would only be able to get up to the current budgeted number of 38.
I think we're there.
Or are we there?
What do we
I
have,
thought we were
27,
there.
28 now?
I thought we had 37, but maybe we do have 38 now. I thought we were one shy.
Double
but-
check. You
Okay.
could be right. Yep.
Okay, do we have any other unsigned contracts out there?
Not that I'm
I'll
aware.
take an answer later. We have another meeting scheduled for next week. Why can't we, okay, excuse me. Last week, on the schedule, on the agenda, which was changed by Ms. Folks, 24 hours before, 24 hours before, 26 hours actually. She removed the item that was for the sale of property. Now I'm hearing that's going to be on a special meeting next week. Why not at a regular council meeting so the city knows what we're doing? Then there is another thing. This agenda has got to go. I checked with other communities. They don't have this agenda. This is unique. We have to wrap everything up in one 4-minute section prior to agenda items, and so on and so forth. And another thing, believe me, I would appreciate council comments. I really would, because it seems like without council comments, you guys are being shut down. And is there a closed session tonight? Because it's on the agenda again.
No.
Then
That's just a place mark. That's not, if we actually have a closed session.
it was supposed to be removed by Mrs. Folks said you'd remove it.
No, it's going to stay on there. If we actually have a closed session, it will describe what it's for underneath it. That's how you'll be able to tell that we're having one. That's just a place mark.
Okay. And on a very good note, happy Thanksgiving to everybody. Yesterday was a fun day. And this week we may get some snow. So I want the answer to my question about the property sale. Is that going to be coming up in a non-televised meeting?
I believe we have a special meeting next Tuesday to discuss that issue.
Why not at a regular council meeting, Mrs. Folks?
I don't want to take up your time. If you're concluded.
I'm concluded.
Yep, and if you want to have a seat, I'll speak to two things.
Happy Thanksgiving, everybody.
Happy Thanksgiving to you, too. Two things. First of all, with the sale of property, this has to do with an interested purchaser. So we were working around his schedule. When the meeting had to be changed, that was not a time he had available. And so we then asked to determine what other time he had to be able to come and speak with the council. So that will take place next Tuesday on December 2nd. The garbage contract, before the emergency manager arrived in the city of Allen Park, and we spoke about this the other night, there apparently had gone out for bids for a solid waste contract. When the emergency manager came to the city, she wanted to take a look at it. She was looking at it obviously through the financial lens and began to have conversations with the company. When I got here, she asked me to sit down with them. I did so, and I also had conversations with them along with the city attorney, Randy Pentuck. So we sat down and we had trouble reaching some agreement as to some of those terms. In light of the fact that we have moved out of emergency management but are still within receivership, it means that certain things that take place at this level then are reviewed by what is called the RTAB, the Receivership Transition Advisory Board. When I explained that that was the structure of an approval process to the interested company that we had been trying to negotiate with, based on some direction that we received from the emergency manager. They were interested in getting it done and were then willing to give a little, which they were willing to do. And then as to the timing, in order to get this before the RTAB and try to get it in front of them by their first business meeting, which is December 3rd, we had to get certain information and documentation finished and concluded by, in essence, a drop-dead date. So that's why we were able to come to the table last Thursday it was.
Any other citizens' comments?
Hi, Kathleen Adams, 10,005 Colwell, Allen Park, resident. Mayor Pro Tem, Mrs. Folks, council members, Clerk Missy and Ms. Armstrong. Thank you very much for honoring our police officers as you did. They are men and women of tremendous skill and ability. Other communities would be very proud to have them in their departments. And we're lucky that we have the force we do have here. Every single one of the officers that is here now accepted the tremendous budget cuts that were necessary in their own salaries in order to help make things work for Allen Park. Some individual officers didn't, and they moved on to other communities and other jobs. And even though those cuts were pressed upon them, I use the term accepted because they stayed when they had a choice. The new ones who have come on board also accepted those conditions. And when I compare them to the slightly better ones the fire department has, where they retain 6 holidays and are scheduled to receive 2 more in July with a small raise that I think they do deserve, our officers have no holidays at all. And it just so happens that day after tomorrow is Thanksgiving and Christmas is 1 month from today. And because it's a budget item and all such things would have to be presented before the advisory board, I'm asking that you urge Mrs. Folks to consider asking if the advisory board would grant them a couple of holidays, because those symbols, like those awards you gave today, build spirit between them and the community they serve, and that is us. And they really are the best of the best. Ferguson would give a lot down in Missouri right now to have them up here. And I think if we turn our police department, let it become a revolving door. I heard Mrs. Parker remark once that you cut too deep and you're not competitive. You cannot compete to get the talent you need and to retain it. And we've got a lot of good talent now, and for Allen Park to keep getting better, property values to rise, and us to be the success that I've seen different individual departments show they can achieve, I think it would be a good gesture and a good symbol, especially this time of year, and thank you very much.
Thank you.
Raymond Guston. Pardon me, Bob?
You're recognized.
Thank you very much. I was going to say something, but that's okay. Raymond Guston, citizen of Allen Park. Good evening, City Council, Mr. and Mayor. A couple questions. Are we going to continue to do curb cleaning to try to get all these leaves out of alongside of our curbs before it snows? The next thing is, I noticed that when I went past the memorial located by the high school, that the flag was inside of a tree. it doesn't look very good. So I would like to go ahead and somebody to please go ahead and get our flag put back on the staff and make sure that the trees limbs that are around that flag are trimmed so the flag doesn't catch there anymore. I was involved with the vision. I was not on the committee, but I was an active citizen. I went to a number of workshops. I know what the citizens wanted. They wanted fire and police protection, but they also wanted an involved city council, is what they wanted. They want an openness between city council and the citizens, and we're not getting that. Sometimes we do, a lot of times we don't. I would also at this time would like to know what order, number, where it states that our city administrator dictates to the city council on what's on the agenda and what's not on the agenda. I cannot find that. I looked through the orders. Maybe I can't read it. But every order, every single one states that the ordinances our city ordinance will be adhered to. Every single one states that. Yes, Ms. Folks, you are a city administrator. You do run our departments. That has always been that way within our city. But you are at the will of our city council, and that is under one of the orders given by Ms. Parker. So at this time, I'm going to ask that you, and this is the way we see this sometimes. I know you probably do work with the city council, but every city council member up here, including the mayor and Mr. Mizzi and Ms. Armstrong, has been elected by us. The city administrator is not elected by us citizens. So I would like to go at this time, would like to see maybe a little bit more openness, but also at some of these meetings, I would like to see the department heads here given their reports. It would be nice for a department head to give the reports, and then a lot of us can put our face to the department head who's really running the departments. And then maybe at that time, we, the citizens, can ask in a more of a little bit open forum that we can ask some of our department heads really what's happening. Just a couple of questions. You can answer them right now. Thank you very much.
Do you want to take the order ones? Or?
Yeah, well, good evening.
Good evening.
I did not bring the orders with me tonight, but I will bring them. I'll try to remember to bring them to the next meeting, and I will show you that. But there is an order which it's an attachment to an order. It specifically says that the agenda will be created by the city administrator and the clerk. It's very specific, and I will show that to you. I think, was there?
Well, and also, I think you questioned the one about who reports to who, and certainly there's an order. Not only does the city administrator not report to the council, but nor do the vast majority of the department heads anymore. And that's an order also.
Yeah, it's the current way the city's operating is in accordance with the orders that are in place. And what I'll do is I'll bring them orders to the next meeting. I'll be happy to share that with you. The current city administrator does have a lot of authority, and she is running the city. But I will also say that it's my, this isn't the orders. It's what I've been seeing. She is working with the council as well as working with the citizens. And we got to remember, she has to answer to the state in the RTAB. So she is not given carte blanche here. In fact, there may be situations where she would like to tell council, sure, I'd love to do that, but she has to answer to them. I think I answered your questions. If I haven't, help me out here.
Okay, no, we're good. Your time is up, mister. Thank you.
Happy Thanksgiving.
You too. Any other citizens?
Good evening, Bob Lloyd, Robinson Avenue. I also want to give my opinion about the Allen Park Police. I've lived here all my life, and like Mr. Keenan said, you know, we had experience here with the community, and the police department's always been an integral part of it, not only through my childhood, my kids' childhood, Safety Town they used to do, and of course, liaison officers, the high school, and the police department was always an integrated part of the community. And I don't think that they get nearly the credit that they deserve. Tonight was wonderful. I haven't heard anything like this in a long, long time. To hear what these officers go out and face on a day-to-day basis, you know, a lot of people don't believe that there are dangerous crimes happening in Allen Park, and I know there aren't a lot, and that's largely due to the work of the police department, but they do find themselves in danger, and that is something that we should all certainly appreciate. Also, I have to mention the compensation issue as well. The imposed contract, I think, was spoken more eloquently a minute ago, so I don't have to add much to that, but when I see citizens come up here and they're talking about the public safety millage that we approved by a pretty good majority, and they start talking about rollbacks on that when we have police officers who still don't have any holidays in their contracts and really relatively limited compensation. I certainly would like my additional tax dollars, if they are, to go to help better compensate the police department and fire department for that matter as well. I sincerely believe that they're worth a lot more than what they're getting, but I appreciate what we do get from them. And I have to also talk about, since this came up, the powers of our city administrator. I find it hard to believe that the state can come in and basically change the city charter from a weak mayor council representative government to essentially certainly city manager would be a lot closer to it, but I don't understand. The governor, just before the election, removed Ms. Parker quite suddenly, from what I understand, surprised a lot of people here. And in his town hall meeting, he proudly mentioned that city emergency manager was removed from Allen Park, and that's a nice election ploy. But as far as I'm concerned, we're still under a strict management by the state without any representation whatsoever, as far as I'm concerned. And I just think people should recognize it for what it is. And I'm really sad to say that. You know, I'm a government teacher. I've taught this government class for 15 years, teaching the idea of democracy, the Republican form of government, you know, how we can interact and we can affect our government. And I've been just disillusioned, quite frankly, for some time as a result of what's happened in this city under, and I don't know if I blame Ms. Parker. I know that most of it comes down through the state. And I just hope at some point that changes. Unfortunately, it won't be for a while. But again, have a happy Thanksgiving, and thanks to the police department. And on a better note.
Any other citizens like to speak tonight? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on to our consent agenda for claims and accounts, and I would entertain a motion for that.
Motion for purpose of discussion.
Motion by Mr.
Whoa, okay. I know we have this discussion all the time. Okay, this is a consent agenda. So maybe the appropriate motion would be to ask, does anyone want to take one of these items off the consent agenda if you want to address it that way? Because the purpose of a consent agenda is...
There's only one item, so there's really nothing to...
There's two.
There's two. Oh,
Yeah, there's two items.
oh, the license and permits?
Right.
So I would, you want to do them separately?
Yes.
I'm fine with that.
Well, you'd have to, you probably need to do a vote whether or not these items would be split from the consent. So it would be, would anyone want to take anything off the consent agenda?
Okay, let's back up. Would anybody like to take anything off the consent agenda? Please speak now or forever hold your peace. Would you like to remove something? Do you want to remove the claims and accounts?
Yeah, I
Mr.
want to,
DeGiulio?
I have a question.
So you're making that motion?
Yes.
I'll support them. Any other discussion? All in favor of removing claims and accounts from the consent agenda, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay? No?
Nay.
One opposed? All right, so we're going to remove it.
What was the negative vote?
Mr. Cisco. Okay, so I guess you want to make a motion for the purpose of discussion for claims and accounts?
Correct.
Okay. Second? I'll second it. Assume you have some discussion?
I do. I'd like to know what the, this litigation here, professional services from the Miller Law Firm for almost $12,000. What's that about?
Tell us what page you're on, please.
I'm on page 3.
As most of you know, because we talked briefly about this, and that has to do with the SEC investigation over a long period of time, and the Miller and Miller was the law firm that provided the city with counsel.
So
Just for point of clarification real quick.
One
That's the
Miller.
Miller Law Firm, not the Miller
Not
and
the
Miller.
Miller,
Not the
Miller,
Allen Park
right,
Law
one
Firm,
Miller.
the Miller Law Firm, right. Yeah.
One Miller.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Miller
different.
and Miller would be Allen Park.
Yeah.
Right, sorry, it's
Okay,
it's
right.
the other Miller.
It's the other Miller. It's not Miller Canfield, it's just the Miller.
Right.
Okay, okay. But what I want to know is, I thought we were all done with the SEC as far as the city was concerned.
As anyone who's ever dealt with various issues that have some legal ramification, and you speak with attorneys and they provide you with counsel, sometimes there are certain leftover issues that are being tied up. Sometimes the invoices are not contemporaneous with the conclusion of the item. And so that's the case here.
So we're still paying the Miller Law Firm to support us? And is it in court proceedings or what? What do they support? Because I know last time we talked about, we said that there was no,
Well, we
were
don't-
done with it. That the city wasn't involved anymore, that this was our former administration.
That's correct. The SEC matter has been brought to a successful conclusion. And so we move on, and as they finish up their invoicing their bills, the city will address those.
Well, this morning I attended Judge Cohen's hearing, and it's not done. He's given the SEC 30 days to bring more information to him.
Okay, I
Thank-
think
well, wait a minute,
we're
wait a
getting a
minute.
little bit
Thank-
off track
thank-
here.
If I
Let's-
may,
yeah.
thank you for bringing that up, because it really does give me an opportunity to be very clear. The matter concerning the city of Allen Park is concluded. What is taking place with the former mayor, the former city administrator, has nothing to do with us. And so I don't know anything about that. For our purposes, the matter concerning the city of Allen Park has been brought to a successful conclusion.
Then why are we paying $12,000 to the Miller Law Firm?
These are past
These are past
bills is what
statements.
you're
There
saying.
won't be any,
Correct.
there won't be any more?
I don't know what's still out there.
Because I know today we got one. We got a bill today. Thank you.
Any other questions regarding claims and accounts? Hearing none, all in favor signify by aye. Aye.
I think our speaker's in there. Oh,
Anybody opposed? No?
my hand?
I oppose it.
Okay. Mr. Clerk, can you show Mr. DiGiulio is opposed to claims and accounts? All right. Item B, curbside pickup.
Motion.
Motion by Councilman DiGiulio. Second.
Support.
Supported by Ms. Gavarecki. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call the roll. All in favor signify by aye.
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 Any opposed? No. Okay, that's carried. All right, any other business? Anybody wish to make any comments?
I would like to.
Okay, Ms. Gavarecki?
Thank you. First, I'd like to echo what our city administrator said in regards to our lighted Christmas parade this past week. I wish to thank everyone that took part in it, had a part in planning it, served hot dogs, water, chips, and for all the youth that came out. We ended up, I don't know if many people know this, but we ended up overcooking hot dogs. We fed the entire community center. And then between the Downtown Development Authority and person, Jennifer Kibbe, and the Festivities Committee Chairperson, Cindy Riviera, they made a few outreach calls. There was probably close to 350 hot dogs, okay, about 250 hot dogs. First they said we all had to take them home, but I couldn't. Anyway, they outreached to the Detroit Rescue Mission and took chips, hot dogs, and water down there, so we benefited another facility with food for the evening, so thank you. Also, Baker College did make some donations as well as the Festivities Committee, so that. Secondly, if you haven't done so already and want to be part of the CERT program that's starting up Thursday, January 8th, I believe the classes will be taking place at Baker College. You need to get your applications in ASAP. They are looking for new members, and if you did see them out at the parade as well, blocking the streets, so they have benefited the community. So please, if you're interested, get your application in. And I think the only other thing I had to say was thank you to the police officers that received awards tonight, and to the entire force, and also happy Thanksgiving.
Mr. DiGiulio?
Yes. I have to agree with my good friend, Mr. Wojcinski. We need to televise that meeting with the Baji about the purchase of this property. We don't need to do that without the citizens hearing and seeing what we have in mind. It seems like when we have a televised meeting, we can't get him here. Then let's just wait till he's available at a televised meeting. He sounds pretty interested in buying the property. I think the residents of Allen Park deserve to hear what he has to say and what we have to say. Thank you.
Mr. Cisco?
Okay. I just want to thank all the police officers that showed up today and got their awards. And just to echo a few of the same thoughts, in that, you know, you hear about how they put their lives on the line every day. That a simple traffic stop is not a simple traffic stop. Anybody could be carrying a gun. Anybody they pull over could be crazy. Any house they go to with a dispute of any kind, those people could be out of their minds. But they go there and they put their lives on the line for everybody in this city. And they don't brag about it. They just do it. And there'll be some people say, well, that's their job. Well, it takes a special person to be a police officer to put up with those things. They protect our houses, they protect our property, they protect our schools, They protect our children. And we shouldn't forget that when it comes to protecting our children, that there are, and I had mentioned this once before, that we have sex offenders in this community, and the police keep an eye on them. They have to go register at the police department. And I believe, if you don't think there's sex offenders in this city, I think you can go to the state police post and look up Allen Park, and you can see where those sex offenders live, so we all can be safe. But they do that, and they have taken a pay cut. They don't get any holiday pay at all. And it just seems kind of unfair that happens when they have to put their lives on the line. And just in passing here, I don't know if I need to make a resolution or not, or even if I can, but I would like to see us have that all the officers involved today get a tape of this meeting, a CD of this meeting. Would we rather have a resolution to do that, and to also have a CD of the fire awards put in their mailboxes, given to them? They don't have to come get them, that we give them to them.
I don't think we need a resolution, do we?
I don't think we need a resolution. I'll work with the city clerk and we'll see what we can do.
Yeah, I think they would appreciate it, and their families would appreciate that also. So if we can do that, I think that'd be great. And I just want to make a comment about the lighted Christmas parade. Terrific parade, a lot of kids out. I mean, it's for the kids. And I guess it's for maybe us adults that look at the kids and see how happy they are, because they sure were happy. And there were a number of people, a number of organizations that helped to make this possible. Ms. Gavarecki has mentioned them. Baker College actually donated all the chips in the water. So I'd like to thank them. I told the president that I would mention her at the meeting, that they did that kind of at the last hour. So I thank Chris Brand, the president of Baker College, for doing that. And I hope everybody has a happy Thanksgiving. Thank you.
Treasurer Armstrong, anything?
I just want to, again, thank the police officers that were here tonight, and those that weren't here tonight, that do their job every day. I'd like to let them know that I appreciate what they do. I also would like to mention to the residents that the city is now collecting Toys for Tots. We have a box in the clerk's office, one in the police department, one in the fire department. So if you happen to come in and you'd like to donate, you know, drop off your toys, unwrapped toys there. And I wish everyone a happy Thanksgiving. Thank you for coming tonight.
Mr. Mizzi?
I would like to wish everybody safe and happy Thanksgiving, and I'd like to thank all of you for coming out tonight. God bless you and good night.
You have anything you want to add?
The only other thing that I would add is have a very safe and happy Thanksgiving.
No, thanks for asking, though.
All right. I just have just a couple things. I just want to, it was mentioned a couple of times tonight, and it made me think about, we talked about the contract that was imposed on the police department and how they accepted it, and I agree with those statements. But I want to just back up a little bit before that and remind those of us that may have forgotten through the cuts that prior to the emergency manager coming in, the police officers voluntarily went to 12-hour shifts, and they do not get any overtime for that either. So they did make sacrifices prior to the emergency manager coming in and imposing the contract on them. So I don't want to lose sight of that either. So along with their cutting benefits and paying for their insurance and the many things that were discussed tonight, there was things prior to that they also stepped up to the plate on, and I don't think we should forget that either. I just want to say, and I know this is going to come across as negative, and I don't mean it to be that way, but we talked about some of the orders that are there. And I'm not an attorney, and you all know that. I'm not even a really good public speaker, but I'm a common sense guy, all right? And you hear this word, or this acronym, RTAB, which is the board that was put into place to sign off on decisions that are made by the city. Common sense would say that if we have an RTAB that's in place to review decisions and sign off on them, common sense would say that we would be making some decisions. And the mayor and council don't have that ability. So I agree with what Mr. Lloyd said. I'm a little baffled myself. I'm trying to do some things behind the scenes to try to get some answers. Right now I'm having some struggles with it. But my understanding of reading the act and looking at the law is that the RTAB is in place to sign off on the decisions that the mayor and council make. And with us not being able to make decisions, I don't know why we have an RTAB, but it is what it is, you know, and we'll move along. We'll try to do what we can do, and we'll go forward. I really want to, as I think we're wrapping up, I don't know if it's going to make tomorrow's deadline or for Thanksgiving, but I want to touch on Ecorse Road again, and I am just so pleased. I've said before, Ecorse Road is something that's been near and dear to me for a long time, prior to being elected. And when several of us got together prior to Ms. Kibbe coming into the DDA and really tried to push that project forward, all we knew is that we wanted something different. We wanted something better. We didn't really know what that was going to be. And it's been a long, long road. But I want to tell you that I am so pleased at what the small vision, and I want to just mention, and certainly there was a lot of people, but Dennis Luke was on the DDA. My wife was the chairman of the DDA at the time, and along with several of us here on council, myself included, really tried to push Ecorse Road to get something done as one of the main thoroughfares into the city. Well, like I said, as much as I think credit should go to Dennis and Shelley and the others, a big thank you to Jennifer and to the folks that she worked with Wade Trim and with Living Labs and the plan that they put together, because it has exceeded my expectations immensely. And I am so pleased and cannot wait for those last few pieces of sod to get in and see that done. What a pleasant thing to be able to come into the city of Allen Park through one of its main thoroughfares and see something that actually looks like it's had a purpose and there was some thought put into it as to a plan, and I'm very thankful for that. I think about Thanksgiving coming up in a couple of days, and I have so much to be thankful for, as I'm sure a lot of you do. And I just hope that we'll take time as we gather with our families to really share what we're thankful for, look around the table, and just be thankful for the freedoms we have here. Even though we complain about some of the things that we got going on, there's no better place to live than here in the good old United States. And I want to thank those folks that continue to fight for us and serve us in the military to be able to give us these freedoms. And with that, I will take a motion to adjourn.
Motion.
Motion by Mr. Sisto, supported by Ms. Gabarecki. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay? We're adjourned. Thank you, folks.
Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, can I ask you a question?
Absolutely.
Where do I go to see that fellow you mentioned?
At the community center.